share my screen here and get us started. Thank you very much. All right. Hello, everybody. It is Wednesday, February the 1st at about 11 a.m. Pacific. I am Nate Fisher. If you do not know me, I am the CTO of Local Viking, local brand manager. This is the first of these at the start of the year here. So happy to see everybody. Today it should be pretty quick. What I'm going to do is try to move my Zoom window so it looks like I'm talking to you. I'm going to go through some updates to the GeoBooster widget and actually a live example of adding the GeoBooster JavaScript snippet and connecting it to your website or to your landing pages. So without further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen here. Now, hopefully the sizing here is not too painful. If it's too painful, let me know and maybe I can try to resize. But what I want to start out with showing is going to be the installation of the JavaScript snippet, which creates the GeoBooster widget. Now, today I'm going to be doing the JavaScript snippet walkthrough. Next week or next AMA, I'll probably do the WordPress plugin installation overview. One thing to know is that you could use the JavaScript snippet on a WordPress site in place of the WordPress plugin. There is kind of no reason really not to do that. But today I'm just going to show it on, this will be actually a Ruby on Rails site, but you can pretend that it's just plain HTML or literally any platform because that's what's going to work with the JavaScript snippet. So to get started, let me go ahead and pull up the right page here, which is not that one. Okay, so I am logged into a white label instance. This is all a demo, and I'm going to talk through some kind of real world usage of this. So this is our white label instance of Local Viking underneath our agency Growth Foundry. I have loaded up Traffic Runners, which is the kind of software consultancy side of our world, in as an entity that I'm going to demo with. Now, one thing to state is that this is a software company and I'm making just kind of fake posts pretending that I'm different places in the world when the reality of my life is that most of it is spent right here in this office working all day. For service area businesses and people that are out in the field, it is kind of a lot easier to imagine the utility here without having these contrived examples. But let's go ahead and get into it. So the first thing that you're going to do is you will see this new widgets tab on the left side nav here, and I'll go ahead and click into it. Well, actually, the first thing you should do is click into your businesses tab and make sure that you have businesses set up here. So I've gone ahead, I've added Traffic Runners, and I've actually gone through into Traffic Runners and I've added two test categories here. So we have the software development category and we have the web design category. Now, I have set myself up as a mobile app user, and I've also been able to publish some test moments from the dashboard here. But to get started with installing our JavaScript widget, you are first going to create a widget. So you're going to come here, click the add widget page, and the two things you'll need is one, a name for your widget. So it could just be the name of the website, or number two is going to be your Google Maps API key. So if you don't have one of those, we do have some help documentation about how to grab yours. Now I've gone ahead, I've added my Maps key in here. I've created my widget name. And the next thing we're going to do is actually associate a business with this widget. So in this demo, I have technically one location for Traffic Runners, but what I'm going to be mimicking is a multi-location widget installation. So let's pretend, for instance, that I had perhaps three locations, maybe one in San Francisco, one in Chicago, and one in Los Angeles. Now, I would go ahead and I would have all three of those locations added to GeoBooster, and I would select them in this screen. In this case, I only have one location, so I'm going to be creating posts from different locations to spread them to different pages. But if I had multiple locations, I could add them all here. Now, the next thing I'll do is go to the Appearance tab. I'm going to leave this alone today, but you do have full control over the appearance of the widget. That is the font, the colors, how everything shows up. If you do want to mess with the zoom level of the map, that is going to be right here at the map height and the map zoom level. That is going to be, I believe, 300 pixels. And then the zoom level, if you're familiar with Google Maps, it's just the level at which Google Maps is zoomed upon first load. So I'm going to go ahead and just skip that. Now, the next step here, which I'm going to show us in staging, which should be live later today, if not by the time that this recording is published, is kind of the ability to map our moments or our content to particular pages. So if we step back for just 1 second, when we think about a moment, which is this content that's being created from our mobile app, we really have two important pieces of information about those moments from a routing or publishing perspective. Number one is the geography of where that moment was created. So if I am out in San Francisco and creating a post, that is going to come from San Francisco or be associated with San Francisco. If I am down in Los Angeles, the same is true for those posts. And the system is going to know where those posts are from. Now, the other routing mechanism is the category. So in this case, I've created two dummy categories. One is software development, the other is web design. Now, this tab right here is going to allow us to select what pages we have on our website and associate either a geo or a category with those. So I'm going to pop into our staging environment here and just give you the quick overview of what that looks like. So on the region tab, you will have the ability here to kind of select a particular page, and you can define for that particular page what region should be associated to it for as you're thinking of posts. And you can also get down to category. So let's walk through a live example here and put all the pieces together. Now, the last step here is going to be the embed code itself. So let's switch gears here for a quick second and let me make sure that I am settled up here. Brett, if you could just mute people as they pop in, that would be great. So what we're doing here is I have a regular website, and this is my Traffic Runners website, if it will load for me. Okay, so here's the homepage. Pretend this is any website on the internet. Now, going to where we want to bind this content, it is going to be primarily location pages, especially if you're in local SEO, if you are trying to increase your local visibility. So if we look here, I have a couple of location pages, and I'll just do a quick demo. I have a San Francisco page, and this is for targeting Ruby on Rails development. So if we go ahead and we just put that URL in here, that is going to load this page right here. So super simple page, very plain HTML. You can see it right here. If you're familiar with HTML, there is nothing special going on. So I have a page, and now I want to get GeoBooster moments published into this page. So as the guys and the girls on my team are publishing content on their phones, it is streaming through to the GBPs as well as through to these particular landing pages. So in this case, I have a San Francisco landing page, and let me pull out I believe, a Chicago page as well. And let's go ahead and let that load just so we can see binding content to different pages. So here's our Chicago page. Here's our San Francisco page. They look very similar. Let's go ahead and start with getting this JavaScript snippet. So I'm going to grab the snippet and I'm going to go to the San Francisco page here. And let's try to push the snippet right above this section here. So we have this little web application development. That is going to be this div or this section here. So what I'm going to do is just go on top of it, and I will literally just paste in that JavaScript snippet that I've cut and paste from the local Viking dashboard, and let's format it a little bit so that it looks proper. And let's go ahead and let's just reload our page and see what we got. Okay, so that was actually successful on our first try. So what we have here is now the widget embedded, and this JavaScript snippet comes in with just completely relatively unstyled HTML. It is up to you as the webmaster or whoever your web developer is to kind of come in here and make it look presentable. So without having to belabor this a bit, let me just use a Bootstrap utility class and add a bit of padding here so that it looks a little bit better. There we go. So we have the two parts of the widget. Part number one is the map, and part number two are these cards in what is known as, I think, masonry layout, although maybe this isn't masonry. So I have added or seeded 4 very contrived example posts, but you can see that these are coming from different geos. So let me go to my Chicago page, which is right here, and I'm going to cut and paste the same thing and pop that in directly in the same spot. So what we should see now is very similar widgets showing up. So perfect. So we have step 1 of the integration done. We are successfully rendering content on a third-party website or web page. So now if we notice, it would be nice, and it is kind of the point of the functionality, if for our San Francisco page, we were streaming or only publishing San Francisco content. And if for the Chicago page, we were only having our Chicago specific content. And you can imagine that concept kind of extrapolating to any pages. So as of right now, or hopefully by the time you watch this, if it is a recording, what you're going to do is you'll come to this region page and you'll say, for instance, if I'm adding the San Francisco page, I will come in and I will cut and paste my URL. I'd pop that right in there. And then I would come in here, I would select US, and then I would select the city of San Francisco. And I would add the next page for Chicago, and I would select Chicago, or I'd select the United States, and then I'd select Chicago. So you're basically assigning geo and potentially a category or categories to a page slug. And that is how the JavaScript snippet knows what content to pull in. So to finish or to kind of complete the demo, right now, if you are using the JavaScript snippet, you have this option here to do, I believe it is data filter cities. Let's test it out here. So I think you can pass this option here where I have added this data filter cities attribute to the JavaScript snippet HTML. And that is going to be hopefully binding just content from San Francisco. So there's a chance that this doesn't work, but let's go ahead And let's reload this here. And theoretically, the result we want is only San Francisco moments showing up. So perfect. This is a moment that I fake made down by the San Francisco BART. And this was at the Bill Graham Auditorium. So we have now filtered down this San Francisco landing page to only San Francisco moments. So let's go ahead and let's do the same thing in Chicago. So if we reload, we can see here that we have all of the pages or all of the moments again because it's unfiltered. And if we go back to our HTML and do a little bit of markup injection, we can do the same thing here where it's data filter cities equals, and let's say Chicago. So again, we are expecting only one moment to show up here, I believe. And let's go ahead and see what arrives. And there is only one moment. Now, in this case, I might want to toggle the zoom settings for this map if I only have a few moments coming in. But as you are generating these moments and adding them to the map, it'll automatically kind of zoom out to encapsulate all of the potential pins. So this is a little bit of an ugly presentation due to the contrived example and lack of data. But one thing that you can see from this is the ability to bind content straight to the page. So the other opportunity for binding content is by category. So let me quickly just talk through this example here. Of the categories. So if I go in to my business here, I can see that I have created a software development category and a web design category. You can imagine these categories can be any sort of taxonomical representation of the products or services that a business provides within the context of how you're publishing to your web pages. So maybe if I had a plumbing company and I was doing service in San Francisco and Los Angeles, but I also did commercial in San Francisco and residential in San Francisco and commercial in Los Angeles and residential in Los Angeles. So I had 4 different pages technically. I would be able to, through this API here, if I can spell correctly, I will come in here and say, commercial and maybe roof repair if I had roof repair categories. So you can see how you can start to dynamically bind content to pages based off of the attributes of that content in relation to its geo and relation to its category. Again, these last 2 pieces here, you will not be needing to associate or to pass these attributes through the HTML ever again. As soon as we deploy this interface here in our staging system over to production, this is how you will say per page, here's how I want to route content based off of the geo and based off of the category using the UI to configure it. And then once this is here, the only thing you'll need to do is grab this embed code and then push the embed code over to, or just cut and paste it into your HTML. And then as we saw at the beginning, there's going to be a little bit of web design or I don't know, web development to kind of format and make it look proper. But other than that, that is kind of the main point that I wanted to cover today in terms of using the JavaScript snippets and having it kind of live on your site and start to publish the GeoBooster moments that you are creating, either from your phone or from the web app. So one small little tidbit today is that for the moments that we see here, the moments that I created, I actually didn't create those from my mobile app. I just came straight into this moments tab I clicked the add moment link, and I went ahead and published it straight from here. So you're able to, if you come in, give a quick example. I can come in and maybe I had a guy out in the field today, and perhaps he came back and didn't create a moment, and we want to kind of create that content. We could come in here, put in an address after the fact that will identify the moment as being from that geo. We can upload photos directly from either we've sent them from our phone to our computer, or just upload from our computer, and then kind of optionally enter the customer's name, associate the business or the GMB or the GBP that we want that content to be published to, and then we can choose the category or categories that we want to associate with, and then we can also assign it to an employee, which refers to the mobile app user that is the one that has access to published content, or any of your mobile app users. So without beating this horse too much more, anybody from the audience there have any questions? Maybe Bucky, or I think Alex is over there from the Web 20 team. Anything that jumps out at you, anything that didn't make sense, any use cases you want me to walk through or think about from a content publishing perspective?
Nothing right off the top of my head. I did drop a note to Brett just a few seconds ago in Discord. I think in the initial settings page is where I saw it for the widget itself. It says JavaScript API. And then when you pass through it, then it starts calling it Google Maps API. So I think that
Okay.
may be a typo there.
That the Google Maps API is technically called the JavaScript Google Maps SDK API or something. So I'll get that nomenclature. I guess, Brett, if you can just make a Trello ticket, please, that'll.
Um, and then maybe a quick link to the resources on that same page, just how to set that up if you don't already have it, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think today's video, as well as some documentation that we're working on, is going to really be the biggest piece of, I guess, support collateral around the widget.
Right.
I know we had expected this functionality of the page assignments to be ready a lot earlier than it was. Unsurprisingly, we probably managed to over-engineer it a little bit. So I was holding off on documentation, expecting this to kind of pop out a lot sooner than it did. But now that this is live, I think it'll save a lot of people from having to go in and edit the HTML directly.
Right.
It also makes it so that once you deploy the JavaScript snippet, you can dynamically update it from this dashboard here. So let's say that I had, I don't know, a category going to the San Francisco page, and then down the line, I make a new page and want to split the categories. I can come back into the UI and I can control what categories are associated to any given page from the web app itself. So I think in the long run, this is going to make things a lot easier for non-technical or less technical people. But it unfortunately added about a month of delay into all of our lives.
Yeah, that's going to be amazing. One other thing is the businesses that you can assign. Is it just one business per widget, or can you assign, for example, I have multi-location business and they service all these different cities, but I have one main blog page that I want to just show like all of these cities doing all this cool, amazing stuff, all these moments, check-ins, whatever you want to call them, for our whole business. Would you be able to attach multiple businesses in that one widget?
Yes, you will be able to do exactly that. I'm thinking about, because there is There's another under the hood API that's like data filter businesses, and then you'd put in the business name or maybe the place ID. I'd have to remember. So we do need to get that bubbled up into this as like another row here or another column here. But yeah, exactly how you're imagining, Bucky. You'll have the ability to say, okay, for this page, float or publish any of the moments from any of these businesses or all of the businesses or two of them. So yeah, fully dynamic, and the entire thing was built with the understanding that some locations or some businesses might have one website in one location. Some websites might have one website in 1,000 locations or 10,000 locations.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool for, a state page to be able to have all of the businesses listed on that state page for all their moments. And then have that
Yep,
big dynamic map with just pins everywhere, and be able to scroll down and see all those. That'd be really cool for a business owner to be able to show activity at those locations.
definitely. And that is maybe that's something I'll have to think of a good demo. It's hard to do these calls and like not show client information, like having an actual use case to demo. I mean, even today I have to like yank stuff out of our account and set up like secondary white label accounts, and it's a complete pain in my ass. So just like having a
We
business that
appreciate
I
it
could
though.
consistently demo. Say that again, Alex.
Oh, we appreciate you going through the pain in the ass to do it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Following up on what Bucky was saying in regards to the business account on mobile, in regards to, let's say, corporate wants to see all their locations in the app, is that
Yep.
functionality possible?
So that's a great question. Yes, it is. The one pain point right now, well, probably not just one. One of the pain points right now is that the app is, so if I have a sub user, and the sub user is for the mobile app, that sub user can be assigned any number of locations. The issue is that when I am a sub user that's assigned more than one location, when I go to create the post or the moment, I have to select which business I want to associate it with. And if you're thinking like, if I'm like let's say that I'm like a pest control guy or girl, and I'm working for a company with like even 15 pest control locations. Every time I'm out there taking my before and after pictures, writing a little blurb, and then having to like know what location I want to be associating this post with seems a bit abrasive of an experience if I'm out there running pest service. So the answer, Alex, is that yes, and like any user can be associated with any number of businesses, and they do show up in their app. But the user experience of how that works out is a little bit painful.
Would auto
And
selecting based off of GPS data be the best solution for something like that?
so yeah, I think that's what we're doing right now. That's what we did. If you select a picture, we reach into the EXIF data of the picture to pull out the latitude, longitude coordinates, and then reverse engineer a city from that if a city does exist. So that is kind of a safety net that is underneath all of these moments. But the option to associate content with a business does exist. And I am a little, I don't know, nervous is the right word, but I'm expecting that to be something that clients and the people that are taking the content and creating the content have friction with in some regard.
Well, as it stands currently, each employee can be assigned to just one business. The problem would be is if you assigned one employee to all the business locations for their
Correct.
district or area or whatever. So as long as that user in the beginning is assigning those employees to the business that they, the location or the listing or whatever, then that shouldn't be a huge issue. It's going to be where, somebody at the office is like, oh, this guy didn't do his moment today, so we need to go in and do a moment for him. And that person in the office is going to have to track it down and say, okay, well, that tech is from this field office, so we need to associate it with this listing. But
yep, that and these are things that I'm sure this entire year will be filled with discovering all of the pain points of our feature and fixing them. I do want to loop back. So I think Katie had asked a question. I'm not sure when because it says 3:10 a.m. Do you have a list of CSS classes for us to target? So I'm assuming that is in relation to kind of this concept here. So in terms of customizing these further, I do not off the top of my head, Katie. I will get a list of I guess we can just look here. We are doing some magic with our underscores. Let me figure that out. I guess you could target this kind of card underscore moment pattern. But the overarching, or at least the beginning thing, is you can wrap the JavaScript snippet with your own div. So in this case, I've wrapped it with a section elements and put in this padding. I believe I could also write my style directly into here and say something like background red, and then we should see that propagate. So here's, I guess, one method of styling is controlling the outer div and having your web developer, if you're doing it yourself, just write your own CSS rules against it or on it. The other option, as far as styling the internal part of the widget, is coming over to here, going to this appearance tab, and then from here you can control, I imagine, most of the things that you would want to control. So this allows you to kind of, I don't know, customize within here. If there is any further customization you'd want to do, or not just Katie, anybody on the internet who's watching this, feel free to let me know and we can figure out how to get that customizable. But between you controlling the outer div because it's your HTML and being able to customize all of the things that you can customize in here, maybe the only thing that we have left to add customizability around is the map functionality itself, which we can look at in the future, adding style sheets for the map, or I guess style layers is more accurate. But Google Maps does allow for completely custom maps to be created. And yeah, other than that, just grab the HTML, style the outer div however you'd like, and then use the widget here to style the inner div.
Will layout be possible to change later on in regards to having the map on the left and the moments on the right?
Great question. So yes, it should be. I know when we think about the WordPress plugin, the map itself and these here are actually two different shortcodes. So there's one shortcode for the map, one shortcode for those blocks. So from an engineering perspective, they are separated. Let me check. Brett, if you can make a note on checking how we can split the JavaScript snippet so that you could have JS snippet map or JS snippet cards. So yeah, Alex, we'll definitely allow it to be splittable, or so you can only have one or the other if you wanted.
My other question is about how many cards. I imagine once they've been used for a while, you're not going to want to necessarily load every card for that location. Is there a recent or like a cutoff that you can set or anything like that?
That's a great question. So in the world of well, I think of this primarily in the world of performance, because after you get to a certain point, there's just load on the database to suck out these moments and then the time to render them. And I'm particularly concerned about web performance. So right now we are working on some logic around pagination. So a default setting where if you have over 100 moments, let's say, the first page load will be the 100 most recent, and those will be populated, and then the widget will have kind of a next button that you can click on, and then the widget will pull in the next 100 and populate those. That's from a performance perspective. From an SEO perspective, there are some concerns there around pagination and how long we should keep content up. So I guess that's all to say that we're testing, and then I'm sure I'll be with you guys and the Web 20 people on getting some more feedback on that exact topic.
It'd be cool to have an option of pagination or not at all, and just set like a top however many.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. And it is a little different. Like my test moments here don't really include that many images. I think we just bumped the limit down to 5 images per post. But imagine if you had 20 moments, each of them had 5 images. That's 100 images that need to load over the wire for every page load. So there's going to be some concerns and some constraints and things to think about as we're kind of hitting lots of content being published for a site. But we do have several of our own clients and projects that have those concerns front and center. So we are actively working on that.
One other question about display. Is there going to be anything other than the card as an option, as like a list option as an example?
That's a good question. So I know on the WordPress side, we have 2 different display formats, but they're only different under the hood. To the human eye, they look exactly the same. We can certainly add like a grid versus a list format. That wouldn't be difficult at all. I do like that.
Perspective, a list might actually be more beneficial.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. And I know we do mark these up with some schema, although probably not. Yeah, not in the not in the preview widget here, but that is a pertinent point, is the different formats. Yeah, I like that. We'll definitely get that in there. All right. Do we have any other questions? I would like to try to keep this somewhat short, just because I do want to use this as training material for people that want to see an over-the-shoulder installation of the snippet. Hopefully that accomplished that. I think we will be updating our training this week, adding this into our help docs as well. And then hopefully by the time you watch this, you will not need to use the data filter category API. You will just have this over-engineered interface here to assign your attributes to particular pages. Awesome. All right, everybody. I would like to thank you for spending your Wednesday afternoonish with me. I will be around and available the rest of the day to answer any questions. You can always get a hold of Brett or Jen or sometimes myself down with our live chat here, or you can email us. support@localviking is the best email to make sure that somebody sees it. If you want to get me direct, that is nate@localviking.com. But if it is a support request, please CC the support team in so that they can ensure we're getting timely responses. I hope everybody has a great rest of their Wednesday and rest of their week. I think we will probably be back, let's say mid-February, not next week, but the week after. We'll do another round robin AMA kind of demo, and perhaps we'll have either the WordPress plugin that we'll go through, or maybe I will have a more production ready example of the moment JavaScript snippet being used out in the wild. Thanks everybody, and we will get this recording out ASAP.